What's going on? Money Morning Live. Lots going on in the crypto spaces right now. And today we have Tom Gentile to talk us through it in Power Profit Trades. I'm going to bring him in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Questions. Is Bitcoin hit a bottom? Has Bitcoin hit a bottom? What's going on with Ethereum's big run? All right. How about that straddle strategy I offered up last week? What's going on with it? What do you have to say about what's happened in the week during the weekend? And do I have a new buy signal? We're going to answer all those questions and more. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you out there. Welcome to Power Profit Trades. I'm Tom Gentile. It is Monday, February 14th, 2022. I hope you guys, especially you guys, did the right thing and got your special someone something before you jumped online and started listening to me and everybody else here at Money Morning Live. Or if you're listening to us on the YouTube channel, I hope you went out and did that. That was number one on the to-do list today, if you didn't already do it this weekend. So what are we going to talk about here? Other than the fact that it's Valentine's Day, let's talk about the big technical question out there that everybody's asking about the cryptocurrency markets, especially after what happened this weekend, all right? And that is, did Bitcoin hit a bottom recently? So we'll review that as well as my top performing assets in our microcurrency trader portfolio. I want to talk about a strategy you can use right now. We talked about it last week, and you can use this in crypto-related stocks. All right, so we'll go back over that again too. And I want to share an altcoin with you that is making, it's starting to show itself a little bit. Of course, I'm going to take your questions in the chat, regardless of whether you're chatting with me on Money Morning Live or on the YouTube stream. So Eric, what up?
What's up, Tom? Happy Valentine's Day to you and your family. Hope you guys have some good plans for later.
Did you watch the Super Bowl?
Oh, very nice. Of course I watched the Super Bowl. It was great. It was a good game.
I got my plastic Super Bowl ring.
Hey,
Where
listen.
did I get this? Let's look at him out of a box of Cracker Jacks.
That looks cool, though. You got something.
That's the closest to the real thing that I'm going to have in the Super Bowl, because I am not a football player, all right? In fact,
same as all of us.
I mean, I bet on some games. I didn't bet on yesterday's game. I had no skin in yesterday's game. I've got skin in the game we're going to be discussing here over the hour. But did your team win?
It's not about my team. I didn't care. My kids, my two boys, they wanted the Rams to win, so I was happy for them that they were happy when they woke up in the morning, because they didn't watch the whole game. It was late here in New York for them. But yeah, I was happy that the Rams won, just so my boys could be happy. Although I kind of wouldn't have minded seeing Cincinnati bring home their first Super Bowl victory, but it didn't happen.
Well, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the state of California. I think a lot of people, if you know me, you know that. I'm on the East Coast. I'm an East Coast guy. But, I am a big fan of home teams. And the last 2 years in a row, we actually had, the host teams playing in the Super Bowl. And the last 2 years, the host teams actually won. So I thought that was exciting. We had a Super Bowl party yesterday. There was a bunch of people in our party, and most of them were rooting for Cincinnati. So I was quietly rooting for the Rams, and I was excited that they won.
Hey, it's nice to be able to watch a Super Bowl and not be rooting, just enjoy the friends, the party, and just enjoy the game, right?
And the commercials, we're always there for the commercials. I can't, there were some good commercials there, but I gotta tell you, that halftime show, man. That was good.
Yeah, I liked it.
I like that halftime show because of a couple of things. You had guys like, like myself, my wife, my brother-in-law was there, my sister-in-law was with us, and we grew up listening to those, the stuff that was happening in the 90s and then turning over into the millennium. And what's really interesting is our kids all know this music too. Right. And most of the reason our kids know this music is because some of it's timeless. Some of it's kind of just really good music you'll hear here and there. But you know what? Some of it is Guitar Hero. There's a lot of stuff that, that kind of flowed through to today's technology. And
It's
so
true.
my 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 brother-in-law and I we were crazy last night. We were da 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 da, and then we just throw something in there. Gonna go make the PIZZ, the pizza. So I mean, we were just whatever we were saying, we were throwing in the da 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 da.
Hey,
So
you're having
the next
fun.
episode of dessert. So much fun. Anyway, hey guys, let's get right into it. The big question everybody wants to know. It isn't, did you get your loved one a Valentine's Day gift? It isn't, did your team win the Super Bowl last night? If you're here right now, your biggest question has got to be, did we hit bottom in the currency markets? And I think that is a yes. I talked about that last week. I believe that unless we get an absolute crazy sell-off in the stock market and in the commodity markets, that I believe that Bitcoin and most of its counterparts, the lows are in for the year. All right. So let's just do this real quick, Eric. Let's go ahead and take a look at BTC, and let's do a rewind of what we talked about last week.
Yeah.
And then something else I want to add too, and then we'll dive into some altcoins. But take a look. If you take a look over here at Ethereum, or excuse me, at Bitcoin. So I've got a chart on Bitcoin right now, and this is a Fibonacci chart. And this fib chart runs, well, I mean, it runs back, quite a bit. I think it's back 100 days. So I've got 100 days on the BTC chart, and there's what I'm looking for, that big mouse. All-time highs up here in the we hit 69,000. That was a wick high. Body high closes at 67.5. Then we drop all the way down to where we were not even a month ago, where we were bottoming down here around the 35,000 level. Okay. Again, I was my last big buy on BTC. Well, that was on the big drop down. Since then, we've moved higher. This is some interesting stuff we see here. Okay, something that has not happened yet is we got a higher high off of the move to the downside. So we were getting lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. And then all of a sudden, we didn't get a lower high. We finally got a higher high. So are we getting a higher low right now? That's really the question. And I believe, obviously, we're going to find that out really soon. Couple of things that I like going into the last 2 weeks of February, okay? Earnings are going to drop off. They're already dropping off. We're still going to see some earnings reports coming out. But the bulk of it is behind us right now. So then that means, well, what happens next? Typically in the stock market, and it's happened over the last 10 years plus, is that no news is good news. And when we have no news in the stock market, that's usually good news. Now, we do have that potential rate hike coming. That's what's hanging over the head of the stock market right now. But I also believe that that's been priced in, right? So what hasn't been priced in yet that's making the markets on edge? Well, if you look this morning, markets were down heavily. All right, we're having comebacks as we speak. Take a look at the Nasdaq. Nasdaq's positive. We still have the Dow and the S&P negative. But the one thing that's really interesting is gold made a swift turn this morning. Open high, close lower. It shouldn't be anybody's surprise. All right, I believe gold has more of a long-term move to the upside, but based on what was going on last week, heading into the weekend, that doesn't surprise anyone that gold spiked up this morning. Now we're getting that turnaround. All right, I think GLD was hitting 175 at one point earlier this morning, but now we're back down below 174. I think it's 173.76. I'm seeing it negative on the day now. And if you take a look, which is interesting because gold futures are actually up, but GLD is down. So there's a little bit of an arbitrage going on between the actual commodity, the futures contract, and what the cash price is telling us right now. So that's all well and good, but what's that got to do with crypto? Crypto is right now trading like an asset, all right? But it's an asset that derailed itself from the stock market. Here, and let me show you what I'm talking about, Eric. I'm going to pair up BTC right now. So we're going to pair up the last 100 days of BTC. I'm going to turn on the pair, and I'm going to overlay a stock symbol on top. So what you're seeing right now is you're seeing the stock market, which has kind of moved really sideways, and then you've seen BTC. Now, this was a drop in the market, okay? Everybody, if you can see that here. So if I really bring this back to the last 50 days, it's going to change. It's going to change this chart a little bit. And we see the S&P that dropped in from 480 down to around 440 or so. Well, the stock market did that too. But look what happened. Bitcoin bottomed before the stock market. Bitcoin rallied while the stock market still really kind of still on its heels. So this is what I talk about when I talk about the derailing. The derailing has been going on where Bitcoin jumped the tracks and is now doing its best to move higher. Take a look at what's happened during the weekend. Okay, this was Friday. As you can see, the market dropped on Friday. BTC dropped on Friday. BTC had a little Saturday, Sunday pity party, but now it's turned around. It's moved higher, not only off of Saturday and Sunday's move, but it's higher off of Friday's close. This is important to show that possibly that next bottom is in. All right, where do we go from here? My next move for BTC, short term, 50,000. 50,000 is a round number. In fact, if you go up to around 50,714, to me, that's the real short-term move. That takes us up above the 50-day mark, the last 50 days where we're at that 50-day high. So that's the first situation, the first thing I wanted to show everybody when it came to cryptocurrencies. And so wanted to share that with you. That was BTC. All right.
Tom, you want to get into your top 5 picks here? We got them ready.
Why not? Let's go ahead and jump right into it.
All right, here we go. So you have on your list, I'm looking at Ethereum, Kyber Network, Polygon, Cardano, and Bitcoin. Anything that you want to point out specifically about these top 5?
Well, let's talk about each of them for a moment. But I want to bring up, now I brought up Bitcoin, and I brought up a chart of Bitcoin. You can see it on my screen right now. Let's go ahead and bring up the chart of Ethereum because we talk about that in the big room here too. So Ethereum symbol ETH. And again, let me jump on down and find that. Here is Ethereum. We're going to look at Ethereum. We can look at a 50-day chart of Ethereum too, and you can look at it relative to the S&P. So the black and white candles, S&P 500. The colors, the red and greens, that's Ethereum. All right. So we see Ethereum here. And so when I look at this, I'm going to turn the pair off because if I turn the pair off, it's just going to be a little bit easier to read. We see the correlations, but again, 100 days ago, Ethereum was trading at its all-time high. There's the closing high of 48.1097. Here's the drop down that occurred between November and the end of January. Here's the run up. We got very, very close to the 38% retracement. It just shows me how strong Ethereum is, Eric. If you own any Ethereum, then you got to be happy looking at, well, probably not happy about this, all right? I got to tell you, though, me, my son, my wife, our family office, we actually get happy when these things drop. And the reason we get happy when they drop, the long-term coins, is that I would rather pick them up down in this area, in the 2s, rather than in the 4s, all right? Because, again, that's a longer-term strategy. I love it in the 2s, okay? But I don't want to be adding money to something that's dropping. So what I do is I look for that move to the upside. Now, this is, and keep in mind, here's Ethereum. Stronger move up, but is it really stronger? Let's take a look. This is a lower high, all right? This is a lower high at the end of December. This is a lower high at the beginning of January. This is a lower high in the middle of January. This is still a lower high, Eric. You see that? The highs that happened last are still lower than the highs that happened in January. Now, we might have put in a higher low. If we put a higher low in, two things have to happen. Number one, we really got to get above the highs just last week. And number two, we need to get above this area here, this 33.28 area, which was the last real higher high that we saw back in mid-January. So I do believe those are going to happen. And when that does happen, Ethereum definitely will clock in as the strongest of the big cryptocurrencies that we look at. Now let's talk about the others, the other 3 in the middle. All right, Kyber Network. Mm-hmm. So Kyber Network has been one we've been into for a while. And even now, when I say into for a while, we're talking about something that was, back when we were in this, back when Bitcoin back when Ethereum were making all-time highs. And even with the huge drops down, we're still up on Kyber. We're up 9.5% on Kyber. Polygon, all right, this is one that was put on right about, well, you see here with Ethereum, where Ethereum had to drop, Polygon had a buy signal right in where Ethereum is at this point. Now, look at where Ethereum is since then. Ethereum is actually not near 4,000. It's down here near 2936. But yet Polygon, which we bought while Ethereum was on its way down, Polygon's up 8.2%. Now, Cardano, our last purchase in Cardano, okay, because I own Cardano in the twos, all right? But we had our last purchase on Cardano was at $1.06. It's trending back and forth a little bit here. Let's just take a quick little peek at ADA. Right, so ADA, where are you? You're close to the top of my list. And here is Cardano. All right, trading around 105 as of right now. So, off that bottom. But we closed Friday at 106. That was up. We're down slightly on Cardano right now, maybe 1% on that move, if that. But as you can see, I look at Cardano and I think Cardano is such a great pick down at these levels here, because a lot of the risk has been taken out of Cardano. Now, a lot of people might look at you and I, Eric, and say, well, why didn't you buy Cardano at $1? Why did you buy it at $2? Because it was not at $2. It was not at $1 when we bought it at $2, and it was a good price at that time too. We're talking about a coin that Eric and I are looking at a 5, now a 10x off the $1 price tag here. This is a $10 coin, all right? And I think it's a $10 coin at worst. So
that's the hope. Yeah.
That's what we see. That's what we see looking at Cardano. So one of the longer term picks, as well as a shorter term trade, but it's also a longer term buy and hold is something that we look at.
Right.
So again, Polygon is a big standout of the bunch there. Coming up a little bit later in the show, Eric, what I want to do is I want to talk about a potentially new signal on the radar, right?
All right.
Showing me some buying interest, right? This has happened. We've had roughly about a 45-point move in this asset. So stay tuned for this one, guys. Stay tuned for this one. So, Eric, what do you say we get into some headlines?
Yeah, let's get into the headlines right now. We have about 3 of them stored up for everyone here, and we're going to start with this one right now. Crypto suddenly braced for a huge 10 trillion earthquake as extreme volatility hits the price of Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, Solana, Cardano, and XRP. Thoughts on this article here, Tom?
Yeah, so that was a huge story. We were covering that one for our microcurrency subscribers in our daily debrief last week. And so those of you, if you understand crypto, you might, you may know crypto and you may not know the stock market that well, but do you know BlackRock? So BlackRock is, it's one of those big managed companies, all right? They're in asset management. They're also involved with trading CME's Bitcoin micro futures. Now, they hold a 16% stake in MicroStrategy, too. So BlackRock is kind of all over the map when it comes to diving into crypto and owning a company who has a lot of Bitcoin. And so, this is one of the biggest firms on Wall Street right now, and it's getting even more entrenched into the digital asset space. It's using the volatility we've seen over the last 3 to 4 weeks as a buying opportunity. So that's a big story, right? And I think it's a big positive story when you see a big company like BlackRock getting more and more of its toes in the sand when it comes to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So let's move to another story, Eric, from the other side of the world.
Let's do it from the other side of the world. Warning people from India against cryptocurrencies. RBI chief says tulips have more value. What is the price of tulips today, Tom? I mean, is this true?
Well, hey, the price of tulips today tulips have got to have more value on this day today than any other day of the year, I believe. But when I first saw this story, Eric, I saw warning Indians.
Yeah.
I'm like, Indian? I mean, baseball season hasn't even started yet.
Yeah.
Why are we warning the Cleveland Indians against cryptocurrencies? And then I started looking a little bit more. I'm thinking, Indians? Are they talking about American Indians? They should have said warning India residents.
Which is why I rephrased it when I read it. Exactly. A little more clarity.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at Governor Doss, then you realize Governor Doss is not he's not the catcher or the pitcher for the Cleveland Indians. He definitely isn't on any of the reservations here in the U.S. This is definitely on the other side of the world. And to me, India is kind of like China. They are doing everything possible to keep their citizens from getting involved in cryptocurrency. Now, is it possible they're doing this for the good of the people, Eric? Are they keeping people away from tulip mania when it comes to cryptocurrency? What do you think?
I mean,
you know what I think?
What do you think?
That might be what the people are thinking. But let's get into this. Governments, most governments, are some of the biggest crooks that are on the planet.
No.
And they're looking out for their best interests. The government of China, the government of India, the last thing in the world they want to give their people is an alternative to their own stable currency. And so, investors keep in mind they're investing at their own risk. And this country bans cryptocurrency. This country puts people in jail. I'm not talking about India, but there's our countries out there that put people in jail for mining cryptocurrency. We've seen a lot of the Chinese leave China and move to Canada so that they can mine cryptocurrency and keep their own businesses moving in the direction that they see fit for their families. So, cryptocurrencies, they say cryptocurrency has no underlying value, not even, less than a tulip. Now, I can get on a rant here. If you really want to hear somebody get on a rant, listen to Nick Black. He'll even get more ranty about stuff like this. I tend to, I look at these and I laugh, I look at some of the stuff that's out there that pushes negativity in the space of cryptocurrency. And Eric, I laugh about it because, these people are like ostriches with their heads in the sand. They don't want to see it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm looking at other headlines out here too. Let's take a look at this next headline that has to do with Intel.
Yeah, Intel.
Hey, to sum up the last one, I think cryptocurrency has a lot more value than tulips. Tulips
Agreed.
were all the big thing, back in the, I don't remember, 1400s, 1600s. But
long time ago.
So this is the asset I believe is here to stay. All right, Eric, what's going on with Intel?
I agree with you on that, by the way, Tom. And Intel tries cashing in on cryptocurrency mining despite environmental problems, the environmental problems from all of these cryptos. How do you feel about that?
Well, you know what? It doesn't surprise me that Intel is trying to cash in on cryptocurrency mining. If anybody could figure out how to do it more efficiently, you would think that the company that produces the processing chips, along with NVIDIA, has the processing speed to figure out how to do this, in a more carbon-friendly way. But if they were doing any kind of mining in the last couple of weeks, this has got to be something that's paid off really well. Eric, let's take a look at both of these stocks for a moment.
Let's do it.
I got some stock charts here. Here's a chart of NVIDIA. Now, this is a 40-day chart, but I want to go back and look at the 100-day chart. And there's a couple of things that jump off the page here for me on this particular chart. Number one, the move off of 200 that happened back at, you got to look at October. So October, November to December, from that 3-month move, we saw the range on NVIDIA from 200 to about 350, and it came right back down to the low twos. Now, interestingly enough, this happened the month prior to earnings, the last earnings cycle. We had an earnings report on Intel back at the end of November, and we really didn't see, did I say Intel? I meant NVIDIA. NVIDIA back in November, we really didn't see NVIDIA stock climb out extensively after that earnings report. In fact, we rolled over. Now, the fact that we rolled over with cryptocurrency makes this very interesting, that this thing is trading a lot like Bitcoin, but it too bottomed such the same way Bitcoin did. It too made some highs and it too pulled back a little bit. So this one's moving a lot like cryptocurrency. But if you're tying this simply to the news of NVIDIA, well, get ready, because in about 2 days, you're going to find out just how NVIDIA has done unto itself, okay? Not in terms of the price of Bitcoin, but in terms of their revenue projections and how the actuals turned out, their earnings projections and how their actuals turned out. And this area right here, we're seeing implied volatility higher now than we did back before the last earnings event. The last earnings event, we saw the IVs somewhere around 60. We're already pushing toward 90. And I would say in about 2 days, we're going to be above 90. We might be close to 100 in terms of the option traders trying to get a prediction on where NVIDIA will go next. Now, let's fast forward to Intel. Here's Intel. This is a 40-day chart on Intel. Let's bring this back to 100 days as well. I might as well. Big thing here with Intel is I thought when we brought this back that we were going to see something that went from some lows to highs and pullback, but that's not the case. Intel has been caught in a trading range for the last several months. As you see the lows down here around the high 40s, and the highs we double topped 56. There's a high back in the middle of October. Here's a high that happened in the middle of January. Intel's earnings report came out. It was good. It was good. They lifted off the page on the report, both back in October and again in January. And what did the market do? Well, it slaughtered them in October. And it really wasn't that kind to them again in January. What's really interesting, though, is that Intel has built some really good support right down here in the high 40s. Full disclosure, Intel is one of the stocks that I have in my long-term portfolio, and I have been getting Intel stock by way of selling put options. And we'll discuss how I'm doing that. Let's save that for another day. Let's save that for Wednesday, Eric. But I really I like this was a long term, and the fact that they're getting into into a stock or into the cryptocurrency space and even being talked about like Nvidia, great thing. So we'll get into those. We'll get into that and Nvidia. We'll see what happens on Wednesday when they report their earnings. And so the one thing that I want to talk about where these two stocks have in common, and it's not just the fact that they're tied to Bitcoin, the fact that they've been tied to a lot of volatility. So members of our Operation Surge Strike, we got trigger event trades on NVIDIA ahead of earnings. And that NVIDIA trade, let's come back and look at NVIDIA for a moment. Well, that was better than 100% return right there. It was actually 106% return on investment over the last two earnings signals. Okay, so that really came up to about two of our last tradable signals. And we can even get into this a little bit more when we talk about our strategy session, which is really where I'm starting to get into right now, Eric. So, you ready for a strategy session with me?
I'm ready. Let's dive into strategy.
All right. Well, I know you're ready. I'm looking to see our folks on YouTube. You guys, are you ready for a strategy session? Because I did talk about this last week. Now, I would love to come out here every single week with you guys and talk about new strategy sessions. And as they present themselves, I will talk to you about new strategy sessions. But I got to tell you, I like the rinse and repeat strategies when they work. And so because they've been working, because we had, I think it was an 83% win to loss ratio in January, well, let's do things that work. So as active traders, guys, you have to like volatility as an active trader. Now, if you don't like volatility, then you're doing something wrong. All right. You're doing the wrong strategies. Volatility works in the long term and in the short term, not so much in the intermediate term. So in the long term of volatility, as cryptocurrency traders, we're being very careful as to what we pick and when. Eric, last week we did not have a cryptocurrency pick. All right. We didn't have a cryptocurrency trade that came out. Our microcurrency traders are like, where's my trade? Well, again, trades don't just present themselves on a Monday, okay, at noon. They don't do that. I mean, I wish they did. It'd be a whole lot easier. I could plan my whole week out. but it
If
doesn't work that way.
if there's no trade, there's no trade. There's nothing you could do about that, right? You don't want to force a trade. All right.
Yeah. But you know what? Something's come up on the radar. We'll get into it in a few minutes, guys. But, there's volatility. Now, we've had a lot of trades where we've had a few trades in cryptocurrency recently. We've had a lot of trades on the volatility side when you look at volatile stocks. So, stocks like NVIDIA, stocks like Intel, those are ones where, there's some crypto related to them, but there's been a lot of, more than just crypto or blockchain. There's been volatility. Let me share with you another stock. Let's talk about another stock where we're looking at volatility, and we could take a look at this stock and see if it is, if it's hitting Brutus. And I want to get into Brutus hot and heavy tomorrow, but it's kind of in the back of my mind. Kenny Glick's been talking about this particular stock. Voz has been talking about this stock. It's also making a push into Bitcoin. The stock is Affirm Software. The symbol is AFRM. Right? I got a chart of Affirm Software up here. There it is. And, when I look at Affirm, a couple things I want to do, Eric, with Affirm. Let's first see how related. Let's see if Voz and Kenny know what they're talking about. How related is this to Bitcoin? So I'm going to go ahead and turn the pairs on. I'm going to update this with a 100-day chart. There you go. Okay, so looking at this chart, Eric, do you think that they're right? Do you think this thing's been moving a lot like Bitcoin?
I mean, it looks fairly identical to me.
Sure looks like it to me. One's just a little bit higher on the scale than the other, but they both hit highs back in November. They've both come down. Now, they both haven't hit lows yet. I want to talk about where they deviated. Where they deviated is what's happened just in the last couple of days. But when you look at the 100-day chart, the highs are correct, the trends down are correct, the rebounds are correct. There's been a little bit of a pullback in Bitcoin. We saw that weekend pullback, but look what happened to Affirm. Affirm had earnings last week. Affirm's earnings, they did not affirm. I couldn't even say that without laughing. They did not affirm anything positive from their earnings report, and therefore the market pushed them lower and pushed them into new lows. Right. So in order for them to get back on the Bitcoin bandwagon, I think Bitcoin's got to get above 45, and then you'll start to see this thing turn around and move higher. If Bitcoin flattens out, then we could see yet still new lows for Affirm. But hey, I'm with Kenny and with Voz. On the long term, this one does look like a Bitcoin type of stock. Now, you've got something. Throw that piece up on Affirm there.
Yeah,
what's being talked about there, Eric?
Yeah, I'll do a little reading time with everyone here. Affirm also has been working on a crypto offering, which the firm has previously said would allow customers to buy and sell digital currencies, including Bitcoin, from the Affirm app. That offering is still in the works, Levchin said, without giving an exact time frame for the availability. And here's his quote: "Crypto, the current volatility notwithstanding, has been one of the best appreciating asset classes. For most rank and file Americans, I think it's pretty difficult to enter this ecosystem." How do you feel about it? Are you in agreement here, Tom? I don't think you are.
I mean, I agree it might be difficult, to enter the crypto markets for the average American. I mean, think about this. Isn't it true only 1 in 10 people around the world
I think so.
are still in cryptocurrency? So 90% of the world is still not involved in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency markets at all. Mm-hmm. And there's an argument that, that's being said that, well, I don't expect anything more than 10% of the world to be involved in cryptocurrencies. Let me take you down, yesterday. Let's go down the road of a decade ago. All right, 2 decades ago. See this little thing right here? I sometimes call it the $1,200 calculator, the $1,200 text message machine, whatever it may be. Right now I have it on Do Not Disturb. So it's a $1,200 Do Not Disturb piece. I remember a time, Eric, when cell phones, I used to walk around with this big brick in New York. I thought I was cool. In the 90s, walking around with my big brick, my Radio Shack phone. Looked like I was calling Charlie. At the time when, what was it? Cellular. It was a company that first came out with the cell phone, and it cost, the per minute charge on cell phones was astronomical. And people were saying there is no way this is going to be something that the average person is going to have. And now, how many people do you know, Eric, that don't have a mobile phone?
The only people I know that don't have them are kids, really young kids as
like
well.
Young kids.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Crazy. I remember those bricks.
Even the older generation has phones. I really think the iPhone Max was made for, folks like my mother-in-law, who needs a bigger phone and have bigger buttons on it.
Could be.
Because it was in response to that jitterbug phone. that crazy phone with the big buttons on it. But okay, so that's one. Let me give you another one. Mm-hmm. When Facebook first came out, I think maybe even after it was called the Facebook, when it went from the Facebook to just Facebook. I remember it was a college kid thing. It was college. It was, there were college kids that had it, and not just kids at Harvard, but everybody was picking this thing up. High school, college, it was the in thing. There was no way that the average person was going to use this as a form of communicating back and forth, right? As a form of getting their news, as a form of doing anything, socially. In fact, the word social media wasn't even a concept then. Now, what is it? It's like 3 billion accounts on Facebook, right? Where I'm going, folks, with this conversation is that I want you to remember, for every person that comes out and says, oh, that's not going to be something that the average person is going to gravitate to. Let me tell you something. There isn't anything that I know of that's gravitated to more than money. We need money. All right. What is it? Charlie Sheen's father, Martin Sheen, had the best quote on the movie Wall Street. And he says, money is something you need in case you don't die tomorrow. And that was his comment. I think it was in the elevator, either leaving Bud Fox's apartment or coming to Bud Fox's apartment. All I know is this. That one-line quote is probably the one that I best remember in the movie Wall Street. Money's something you don't need, is something you need in case you don't die tomorrow. Right? And to me, that's more of something that the world's going to gravitate to. And as digital currencies become more and more mainstream media, that's going to be true. Look at yesterday's Super Bowl ads. There were a few of them that Crypto.com paid for. I saw LeBron James. He's now, I did not see Matt Damon as the face of Crypto.com anymore. That's gone. LeBron James is now part of that group. And so I say that because, again, right now it's 10%. But even if it gets to 20%, imagine the number of times higher Bitcoin, Ethereum, and its counterparts are likely to be. That's a big move. It's a huge move. So yeah, Eric, I think it might be difficult now, but I mean, and I still get a lot of questions about Coinbase accounts and cold storage and other things like that. If you're a microcurrency trader member, I have one answer for you real quick. Go to the trading videos that I've made because I answer a lot of that for you. But if you don't have access to that kind of trading, playing in the crypto related stocks, it's, it's very accessible if you're already in the equities markets, because again, there are stocks that trade like a firm that trade with Bitcoin. The difference is that these have options. Many of them have options, and many of them I look at with software like our Brutus software to look for buying and even shorting opportunities. We can go long, we can go short, and we can also do something like a straddle, right? So back to a firm. Let's look at a firm one more time. This time I want you to put that chart up that you have, Eric, that I gave you.
Got it right here. We can break it down.
Firm holdings. All right, you can see there. But what we didn't talk about until this point is what we're looking at, which is called a surge projection, right? That's about almost 160% surge projection and almost a 92.5% ROI based on looking at straddles. Remember what a straddle is, guys. That's an at-the-money call and an at-the-money put with the same strike price, same expiration date, under the same using the same underlying. So we closed that one out last week ahead of earnings. Now, there's a lot of opportunities to play out there in straddles. Let's talk about Kroger. I mentioned Kroger last week. Kroger uses the IBM blockchain. All right. It uses it for food recalls. I mean, I'm not kidding here. Everything is relating to cryptocurrency. And this is, a small, you want to call it a small crypto stock, but it has a little bit on crypto. Now, the straddle on Kroger that we talked about last week, it didn't have the 92% huge win potential, but it had a high win rate. So I mentioned this last week. Boring is good. Now, let's take a look at Kroger one more time. And I'm going to put that up on the screen. Here's KR. Now, this is a 40-day chart. Now, I want you to look at both of these lines here. There is a candlestick chart, and then there's a line on close chart. Eric, what direction in the last 40 days would you say the candle is going? Is it trending up, trending down, or you just really don't know?
I really don't know, Tom, and I was half paying attention setting up another scene, so I'm sorry about that. Let's ask the chat. Is it trending up or down?
Hey, it doesn't. I mean, I don't know either. And I look at this chart a lot more than you do. But, I mean, here you go. We don't see higher highs. I don't see lower lows. I see some kind of support down here, and I see some resistance up here, and we're trading right around the middle. But if you look at this red line, is there a trend happening with the red line?
It seems to be going up with that red line.
Going higher. Yeah, you got higher lows and higher highs, and it's moving up. And guess what? Earnings on Kroger are in 17 days. Now, just in the last couple of days, we've seen the IV, the options implied volatility, go from around the low 30s to the mid 40s. So options volatility, options premium is creeping up in price. Okay. Now, if I'm holding the March options, as we get closer and closer to the expiration on March options, time value does go down. But what's happening is there's a fight going on right now between time value, which wants to diminish like it always does, and volatility, which is telling me more and more people are buying calls, buying puts. They're getting ready for these earnings that are coming out on the 3rd of March. And as this continues to happen, there's that fight. I like those fights because it holds up my options value as we get closer to earnings. And we'll end up seeing here probably within the next week, Eric. Sometime next week, we could be possibly seeing an exit on this particular straddle. And then what we'll do is we'll do a whole post-mortem on it, win, lose, or draw, see how well it did. Okay?
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, we're at the final stretch of our show, the fourth quarter. All right, the game is tied. Let's get into that. Was really a tight game last night. I think whether your team, my team was not at the Super Bowl. All right, my team's quarterback retired. Well, first we thought he was retiring, and then maybe he wasn't. Then he came out and said he did. And now I'm hearing that he's going to be on the active list again next year for Tampa Bay. I mean, it's just one story after another. It's like all the sports reporting is thinking, how can we get more clickbait? Oh yeah, let's just say that they haven't dumped him yet, that they're keeping him on the active roster just in case Brady decides he's going to come back. Last week it was like his wife said it's either football or me, and now this week it's maybe it's football. I don't know. Anyway, those are the questions that I have, Eric. But what are some of the questions that our folks here on both Monday Morning Live, and I'm going to look at our YouTube channel too to see if there's any questions. But what are some questions that are popping up that you have regarding cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I have 3 right now, but I'm also looking at the chat, ready to grab some from there. So this first one is from a member that hasn't changed their name. They say, Tom, can I transfer crypto, yes, from Coinbase to Coinbase Pro without withdrawing, and how? Yes, you can.
And we actually have, if you're a microcurrency member, if you're a microcurrency trader, go to the videos and I'll show you exactly how that can be done. But it's actually quite simple. All right. What you need to do is log into Coinbase or Coinbase Pro. Use your Coinbase account to log into Coinbase Pro. And in there, you can even go to their help menus and they tell you exactly how to transfer from Coinbase to Coinbase Pro. But breaking news. I have breaking news that I waited until 12:16 to share with everybody about Coinbase. So something happened. Eric, I want to see who's on the ball here in this room.
Let's see. I'm watching.
Something happened to Coinbase last week, and I want to know if any of you that are watching this can tell me what happened that it blew me away. All right, it completely surprised me. What's going on over there at Coinbase? Not Coinbase Pro. What happened with Coinbase last week? Did you see anything different that happened? Those of you that are following me on Monday Morning Live, or those of you on YouTube, anything new about Coinbase? Because I'm going to share with you what I found out, and I actually saw it Thursday, Friday for sure. It was late in the week.
We have a bunch of people saying NFTs, which, yeah, they're getting into the NFT space, but that's not what we're talking about right now. We did have some people saying that Coinbase is now Coinbase Pro. That's kind of in line with what you have to say here, but it's not exactly.
Yeah, you know what? Rates. It looks like they have realized, Eric, that they need to offer more than just market orders over in Coinbase. So check this out.
Great.
Here's my Coinbase account. And look what I did. I clicked on trade, and you see something up here called advanced trade. So now they give you the ability to either trade or create an advanced trade. Trade is what they have already. But advanced trade allows you to go in and buy assets and do them at more than just a limit price. So if I wanted to go in and buy Shiba Inu, which I would never do, okay? But if I wanted to go in and buy Shiba Inu, I would click on SHIB. Notice that the look at the charts. The charts got better. All right, I've got an order book over here.
Love it.
Trade history over here. But then up here in the top, all right, let's see if I can zoom it right in here, Eric. There we go.
It looks like a real platform now, Tom.
So, isn't that something?
It's awesome.
I've got a limit price. I can do limit or market. I can actually put in limit prices. I can go 1% below the market, or 5 or 10. I can put the amount of SHIB I want to put in, which would be nothing for me. But I mean, I can do this with any of the assets that they have available now. So they're giving me the availability to go out and do something more than just a market order. As far as I can tell, they do not have stop orders in here yet. You still have to go to Coinbase Pro to have the stop. But once again, and I'm going to share this in more detail. All right, we're actually going to go back, and I want to show those of you at 1 o'clock. I want to show you even more. We're going to compare Coinbase to Coinbase Pro, because I want to show you who has the better pricing. Okay, but for those of you right now, just all you have to do is go log into Coinbase and click on trade. And when you click on trade, all right, you'll be able to bring up assets, and then you can actually put in your own asset if you want to. Like, you know, if you see here, I've got BTC, I've got Ethereum, Shiba, Solano's on here, AVAX, Matic, ADA, Doge, but I don't see Ethereum on here. But if I were to go in and type in ETH, all right, then all the ETH pairs come up, all right, or anything else that is in the tradables for Coinbase.
So Tom, one of the biggest recommendations that we always tell people is get onto Coinbase, start your account, and then go on over to Coinbase Pro. So based on what we're talking about in that 1 o'clock session, based on pricing, potentially people can just log into Coinbase at this point in time and never even need to use the Pro platform, because you could do a lot of the things that you need to do here, depending on pricing. Because honestly, I'm not even sure what pricing is and how they relate between Pro and regular Coinbase yet.
I can tell you this, for those of you that are not going to join me at 1 o'clock, for those of you who are, get ready. We're going to do a little bit of comparing. But for those of you that aren't, I mean, that's fine. Let me tell you this. 90% of what I used to do at Coinbase Pro, I can do on Coinbase right now. 90%.
That's nice.
That other 10%, I'll leave for maybe some pricing or stop orders. All right. But this is a big deal, guys. This is a big deal. In fact, if they get stop orders over here at Coinbase, I'm going to move all my Coinbase Pro back to Coinbase and just do it all on one platform, because it's just easier. And then I'll keep the majority of my stuff right there on the stick. All right, the stick being cold storage. All right, Eric, what else you got for me?
Yeah, let me find what else we have. We have one right here, and this is about Engine. How about Engine? How's it doing? ENJ. Want to take a look at that one?
Yeah, so let's
Would
go
you
to
mind?
cryptocurrency charts. And actually, what I want to do is come over here. I'm going to type in ENJ. Start with the E. There it is. Engine Coin. Again, this is another one. I like this as a long termer. Engine Coin did drop down to around $1.51, and it spent a good week there. And it did something too that it hasn't done in a while, and that is create a series of lower highs and lower lows. Now, we're going to need to see Engine Coin stick the low here, which is around 167. All right, if it could stick at that 167 and move higher, then I really like this one to see new highs. And then we'll see potentially 265 is what I'm looking at as our next move up for Engine. But we got to stick that low that we had early this morning. So we'll see what that ends up. But, as I'm looking at the markets, at the overall markets, it looks to me like, you look at especially the NASDAQ, and most of the crypto stocks are in the NASDAQ. They're not in the Dow. That's for sure. There are not that many of them in the S&P. But most of your crypto stocks are either going to be ETFs or they're going to be stocks that trade within the NASDAQ. NASDAQ made a move to the positive this morning. And so that's good news for not only those particular stocks, but cryptocurrency as well. So I like Engine. My long term has not changed at all about Engine Coin, and therefore I'm still in Engine Coin.
All right.
Eric,
Well,
you know what? Let me jump to
Facebook,
real
YouTube.
Yeah, real quick. Someone's asking about Coinbase Pro. All right, and big crypto discussions. And so, as you can see here with Coinbase Pro, and what I do is, and keep this in mind, everybody, I look at stocks, I look at tokens that trade just on Coinbase Pro. All right, these are what we like to call utility tokens. All right, security tokens I don't talk about for a couple of reasons. Number one, some are privatized, so you can't even get them. Number two, some of those coins just do not have the liquidity. In fact, there are a few coins that are on Coinbase where, we look at them and, if we try to make any kind of, we do some research or recommendations on those, we may just find out that we can't publish those simply because they're just going to move too far too fast. All right. So, that's kind of my answer when it comes to privatized tokens. I own some privatized tokens, but I own them for long term. I have no intention of selling privatized tokens, almost like NFTs. But they're not something that in my mind are tradable from one day to the next. All right. What do you got next for me, Eric?
Yeah, I got one more. This is our final one that we have pre-packaged, but it looks like we have a little time to grab some from the chat as well. This is from Teresa and Mike. We see them in the chat all the time. Anything setting up for a buy this week? So anything that's kind of on your radar? I mean, there's a lot of low stuff, so there could be a lot on the radar.
There is. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit,
Yes.
low-hanging digital fruit in the world of cryptocurrency. And, when I look at it, here's one that's catching my eye right now. We'll talk about this one at 1 o'clock in a lot more, but it is Litecoin. So Litecoin was one of, if you go back, Litecoin, I think it was Bitcoin number one, Ethereum number two, and then we saw a couple of coins in there, and let me just throw them out there real quick for you. Bitcoin Cash, Ripple, and Litecoin. That was really kind of 3, 4, and 5. Those were the first coins that ever came out. And I was not a big fan of Ripple at the time. I was not a huge fan of Litecoin. Bitcoin Cash I was. And probably the reason I was a fan of Bitcoin Cash, Eric, was because when we had that initial fork that happened in 2017, I ended up getting Bitcoin Cash as part of that fork. So that was one. But looking at Litecoin, the one distinction that I have with it right now is that it is starting to show some what I like to call some wake-up signs. The biggest wake-up sign that I want to talk about right now with everybody is that, if you take a look here, look at the move. Look at what happened down here, right? So this area was around $10 and it was, not 10, excuse me, $100. It was 108. So here was 108 on the close. Now this is the end of January, all right? 108. Then this is an open that hit 108. This is a low that passed through 108, 108, 108, 108, 108. 108 low, 108 low, 108 kind of pushed through, 108 low, 108 almost to close, 108 was the open, and almost 108 was the low again. Let's count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 days. 14, you want to count that one right there. But 13 to 14 days where we traded down and around the $108 category. Okay? So that, when I look at this, I think this is some huge basing that's going on. Now, a couple of disclosures here that I want to put out there for everybody. I own a little bit of Litecoin, and I've owned it for a long time. My wife owns Litecoin, and she bought it last year when it was higher. Okay, so I want to put that out there just to make sure everybody, I'm giving you full disclosure. But this is actually starting to look like a wake-up call for a potential trading opportunity. So if you take a look here, you got this basing, that's number one. But again, we had a higher high last week. We had a pullback. Now, this basing that's happened, is this going to be another 13 or 14 days where we're kind of trending along the area that we're at right now, which, by the way, that current price is right around 125. Is that where we're looking to form the next base? Possibly. All right, possibly. But you know what I got to do, Eric? I got to look into a little bit more. I got to look into what is Darknet telling me. All right, I got to look into what are my currency waves telling me. And I got to get a signal from either one of those before I can really make a move on this particular cryptocurrency. So that's some of the things that we look at, when I'm culling through and I'm looking at potential opportunities in the crypto space. Is it passing the 40,000 foot view? All right, number one. And then number two, what's it doing for me as a trader? And what's it doing for me as a trader really does help me, make those determinations right now. All right. So guys, we're almost out of time. So again, I want to thank all of you for joining me today. Let me let you know, I'm going to be here at 1 o'clock for our premium subscribers. I will be back here again at 11:30 tomorrow morning, where we are going to get more in depth with what I like to call the end of this quarter's earnings season and see if we can find some tied out trades. All right. What's the tied out? We'll talk about that tomorrow. All right. But we're going to get into that. Next week, I have got, I'm actually going to be off site next week with our partners. And so our partners are going to be with me here in Florida at an undisclosed location where we're going to be doing some in-depth. I haven't done this in 2 years, so this is exciting, Eric. We got a partner event. Haven't done this since 2019. It's been almost 3 years.
It's good to get together with everybody.
Get everybody together. We're going to do a couple of days of nothing but trading and teaching. I got the whole crew with me. All my guys are with me. All my programmers are going to be with me too. So a lot of fun. So I'll be out next week, but you'll see me at 1 o'clock. And for those of you who won't see me at 1 o'clock, you'll see me again here, same time, same channel. Have a great rest of your day. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you. See you soon. Bye now.